Hippopotamus here again, and today I'm going to be showing you my hybrid Combuster build. So let's get straight to it because there's a lot to discuss, and we'll start with the specialization. So the main thing with this build is that we have taken armor cores, so we are grabbing back at passive skill tiers wherever we can. And this is the first instance of doing that with our specialization, so this is really important. The amped passive talent is very good, giving us one extra skill tier. The dismantling is quite good, 12% damage to drones, skills, proxies and robotics. That's just 12% damage, which is good, and this build is PvE exclusive, so that is very useful. The emergency patch, it can help, but in our case, we're using the Artificer or Artificer, however you say that. I'm just going to say Artificer, right? Hive, and that actually heals your skills. We'll go through that in just a second. So this has limited value, but still could be useful. So, like we said, the Artificer Hive. What this does is it sends out a micro electro boost, and it basically allows the duration, the damage, and heals them as well. So it's sort of like, I guess it would be like skill efficiency. But it's very good. It keeps your skill out for longer, makes it do more damage, and heals it if it's been hurt. So that's really good. Again, you get the two mods that come with it that we might take advantage of in just a second. I'll go through that as we get to it. We've also got overclock CPU, 10% skill damage, excellent, that directly plays into this build. We have Faraday Field, so party members within 5 meters of your deployed and undisrupted skills are immune to shock and disruption, so that could be useful. However, I would like to say we're going to see limited mileage with that, because when you see what these skills do, your teammates might not either be so happy that they're stood next to him or want to stand next to them for that matter. So that's something just to state now while we're here. Techromancy, we get actually a lot more value out of this than we normally would. As we've taken blue cores and armor cores, should I say, that 15% bonus armor while we're aiming a skill is a lot more than we would normally get, because normally we'd be like 900,000. In this case, we're 1.5 million, and we do aim to like hold and throw skills, so that is actually quite useful. We're getting more value than we normally would out of that. We also have EMP grenades. I guess it could be quite useful for shutting down robotic dogs or, robotic enemies, which is quite useful. And we also have synergizing weapons, which is the LMG and the assault rifle. Perfect. Right, let's go take a look at the build. So, if I go to the right place. So for the first part, I'm using these weapons. So my first one is the classic RPK. It comes rolled with LMG damage, damage to targets out of cover, and damage to armor. That's great. Those are all sort of perfect rolls that I want. The talent is what I'm most interested in here, and it's future perfect. So weapon kills grant one skill tier for 15 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge. So it's that important overcharge, and we can get at this every 90 seconds. Obviously, you'll note it says kill, weapon kills. So this is why I've chosen this weapon. Yes, it has a smaller magazine, but its damage potential is much higher, and that's really great for allowing us to try and get that kill. Otherwise, we're just going to be stuck with a weak weapon that just can't actually get the kill. I'll go through the mods just very quickly. Right, so the main thing is I've gone for weapon handling and reload speed on the grip, because this weapon, the biggest problem with it is its reload speed. It's terribly slow. So the weapon handling and the reload speed directly play into that. Also, weapon handling gives us some stability and accuracy. Again, this weapon has quite bad accuracy, if I can just find that. So that's what we're trying to fix. So that plays into that. And obviously the extra magazine, again, that's going to decrease our reload speed. So again, part of the reason why we've taken a reload speed buff. Other than that, it's just really an offhand weapon just to go into overcharge, but still quite reliable and does a reasonable amount of damage. So for our main weapon, we're using the Capacitor. This is a very good gun, helps us a lot. It comes with assault rifle damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover. Nicely rolled one. And it comes with the talent Capacitance. So shooting an enemy builds stacks to a cap of 40 and grants 1.5% skill damage per stack. So that's 45% skill damage by my maths. Hope I'm right on that one. I think I am. Okay, so after 5 seconds anyway, each one of those stacks decays. So you've got to keep shooting the gun to keep it, stacked up. The really nice part is that for each skill tier, we gain 7.5% weapon damage. Now, we're at tier 6 through equipped tiers and passive tiers, so that's very nice. But we also have additional damage tiers and passive damage, and that is the reason why this gun is hitting for as hard as it actually is. It's actually hitting very, very hard. Okay. So, for my pistol, it's not the TDI card. What can we say? Woohoo! So, the main thing is, I've not really optimized this up. Maybe we should do this now while we're here. But I'm just trialing this weapon. Now, my thinking is that if we've got Pistolero on, this weapon it's got unlimited ammo and it's burst fire. Alright, so it's not like single shot. We can just spray this weapon and we're bound to find the target sooner or later and proc the talent which is on. So I have this one rolled with pistol damage, damage to targets out of cover, which we've just fixed, and we have the talent in sync. So hitting an enemy grants 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damage an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage. So one feeds the other and the other feeds the other one. So basically when you have got both up, so in effect you shoot an enemy and a skill then shoots an enemy, or you skill shoots an enemy and then you shoot an enemy, however it happens, however it might fall, it doubles the bonuses of both, and that's going to mean that when both are active, you're going to have 30% weapon damage and 30% skill damage. That's great, especially considering that you've got unlimited ammo with this thing, and if you're playing with directives that are going to limit your ammo, this is just going to keep your uptime good. Perfect. So let's start with the backpack because it's the main conduit to how we're unlocking our brand sets, and I will go through this now. Core attributes, it's got one of each, weapon damage, armor, and a skill tier. I'm using the attribute of skill haste here just to get some skill haste, and the talent is resourceful, so it slots in with any equipped gear sets or brand sets, and it fulfills a requirement to unlock in a set bonus, basically. And it can unlock multiple bonuses from different sets simultaneously. So effectively, if we've got one piece of something, we've got two. If we've got two pieces of it, we've got three. If we've got three, we've got four. And it can do it for multiple different brand sets and gear sets. So perfect. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the named piece here, and we'll move around and sort of talk about the other pieces as we go. What I'm going to do is these pieces are where I'm grabbing at the passive skill tiers, okay? So I am using the Combuster, and this is a named Palisade Steelworks piece. And what this does is it gives me armor on kill. It also gives me health, because I've got the bag, so there's the two piece there. Armor on kill is good because the turret actually, when it gets kills, is going to give you armor on kill. The explosions from the talent on the chest piece do not count towards this. From what my testing was in, it doesn't count, so that's not great, but it's still, there's the reason why we've got the talent on the chest piece, which we'll go through in just a second. And we also have the core attribute. We're taking an armor core here, so we're less squishy. We can see we're at 1.5 million armor, and we take skill damage and skill haste. In this one, I've chosen to go for skill duration, which is an extra 10%. Keeps my skills out for 10% longer. So, the talent. Now, this is a little controversial, and not everybody, I think, knows the best way to use this. It can cause teammates to get upset as well, and I'll go through how to avoid that at all costs when we show the build in the range. Right, so, perfectly explosive delivery. Whenever you throw a skill, 1.5 seconds after landing, it creates an explosion damaging area within 5 meters, basically. So it's going to set up like a little explosive radius that if anybody walks in it, they're going to take damage. So that damage, it scales from 25 to 100% of a concussion grenade, depending on how many skill tiers you have. We have 6, so that's 100% of a concussion grenade. The difference between the perfect and the normal is this one explodes every 5 seconds after. So it keeps exploding once you've thrown it. It doesn't explode once, it keeps going and going and going. So, why do I have this? What is the reason? We might as well discuss this now. This is a really good way of blocking off like bottlenecks or choke points is a good way to describe it. When you have like a doorway between you and an enemy, and there's no other way round, if they have to come through that one area to get at you, they're not only going to be getting hit by the turret, but they're also going to be getting hit by the explosions. The other reason is, if you have this down and you have the same setup where enemies have to come down a set path to get to you, if you throw down these skills, the Black Tusk, especially in Legendary, so the White Tusk, the drone operator, the woman that flies the explosive drones at you, is very, very, very annoying. This build will counteract that. If you throw the skills in the right order, every 2.5 seconds potentially, you can have an explosion going off, which will destroy the drone as it's coming towards you. And this just gives you breathing room to put a med kit on, shoot, not having to get staggered constantly. So it's used in the right way is perfect, but used in the wrong way, you can upset teammates. I'll go through that when we get there. Right, so I have another piece of Palisade Steelworks set up the same way. It has armor, skill damage, and skill haste, and all importantly, this is unlocking our third piece, which is a skill tier. So with our passive skill tier, which is 1 to the 3, that makes 4. From the Palisade Steelworks to the one that we've got here, that makes 5. And that brings us round to our piece of Picaros, piece of Brazos, which is the Picaros. This comes with armor, and it's got a skill damage and weapon damage on it. We'll talk about the weapon damage in just a second, but what I wanted to say is that this gives us skill haste, a skill tier, and that is going to bring us to skill tier 6. Okay, right. The weapon damage. So we have passive weapon damage grabs, and this plays into it. We're actually grabbing up to 25% extra weapon damage with this piece included, and this is 10% of that. Okay. So where does the other 15% weapon damage come from? Well, it's from Hannah Yu. So I'm wearing 2 pieces of this. This translates to 3 because of the bag. So this gives us skill haste. Great, that's something we need. Skill damage. Great, again, something that we need. And weapon damage. There is the extra 15%. I used to think this was a really useless talent, but for hybrids like this, this is great. That's basically stacking up to 25. Plus we have 1 damage tier on the bag, so it's like 2 2/3, nearly 3 damage cores passively. So that's great. That's very, very helpful. It's going to help our guns hit harder. Now onto the attributes and the core attribute, I guess, which is a skill tier, and then the attributes of skill haste, skill damage. Now I've got an unusual one here. I've got repair skill. I will talk about this in just a second, and I'll show why I use it. But let's just ignore that for now, and let's just show the other piece of Hannah Yu that I've got, which is obviously creating the 3-piece. Again, it's a skill tier, and it has skill haste, skill damage. Now, with the repair skill in mind, the Artificer Hive, it repairs your skill. You can see there it says skill repair 91%. Now, if I remove this 20% repair skill, all of a sudden, this now only repairs my skill 77. So 97%, I believe. Let's just take a quick look. If we just pop in the repair skill that we had, there it is. Yeah. So 91, sorry, 97, 91%. So if your skill's been damaged, it's going to repair 91% of its health. Now, if I pop in another skill repair mod, it's going to be over 100%, which is a complete wastage in my eyes. I don't really want to do that, but to boost the skill repair, to repair the skill as it gets damaged, not only helps my skills, but it also helps teammates' skills as well. As they fly past it, or if they're in the radius of it, it will repair their skills. And skills do tend to like kite quite a bit of aggro. They pull aggro off enemies and they will shoot at them. So not only will this keep the duration up, but it will also keep the skill health up. Fantastic. Right, on to the next skill. I'm using the turret, and this just plays into the fact that it's a throwable skill. So what we'll do is we'll just go through that now. The skills, there's only certain ones that you can throw. So sticky bomb, no. The trap, yes. Decoy, no. Pulse, no. So etc, etc. The only throwable skills are the trap, the turret, the hive, and the seeker, as I know it. And these are the ones that we're going to use to create those explosions. So that's why I picked the turret over, say, like something else, and that's going to allow us to create an area of effect when we throw the turret out. It's also got quite reasonable damage, 112,000, but we can amplify that in multiple ways, and I'll show that at the range. I guess if we just show off the attachments, it's got a damage mod, health and skill haste, and the Artificer Hive is using the range mod to increase the range, and it just has, it shouldn't have damage in there. Let's just see what else we can switch that out for. Yes, healing, that's correct. So if I wasn't silly, we can actually change the healing of that, I think. Let's just have a look. 5.4 healing. I don't think stim efficiency is going to help us there. I think healing is probably what I would keep it at, yeah. Again, I don't know. That might not have a direct effect. It didn't say on the stat sheet that it did. I'm using health because obviously enemies will shoot at it, and the range is great. You know, the range is going to help a lot. The duration, it's got a limited amount of shots. So after a certain time, that's not really going to help. The shots will run out first before the health actually runs out, okay? So anyway, what I would like to do is just go through the WASP piece here, which is the grenade. EMP Grenade is useful for shutting enemy skills down. That's pretty much top and tail of it. Right, so trying to keep this short, let's go through the stat sheet very quickly, and then I'll go through the uses of the build, which have got a lot of moving parts, so hopefully we can get through this quickly. Future Perfect on my main weapon, Capacitance in sync. Then weapon damage is higher than normal because of that passive damage that we have. Again, I'll show that across the board here. And again, this is reflected here in all weapon damage bonuses. Okay. Gear talents are resourceful and perfectly explosive delivery. Brand sets are 3 pieces of Honey U, the Ninja Bike, which fulfills an extra piece, 3 pieces of Palisade Steelworks, and 2 pieces of Brazos de Acruba. I've said that right. So yeah, we're at just a little over 1.48 million, which roughly translates to 1.5 if we do some rounding maths. We get 148,000 armor on kill, 10%. We have more max health, so if our armor breaks, we have more than usual. Also, remember the wristwatch level is contributing to these stats here. So if you're not level 1,000, you might get different stats. Right, so I think what we need to do is just very quickly, we're going to turn off the skill haste because that does have a direct impact on the stat sheet. And I think we might need to go in and out. So just bear with me. Sorry about that. And if we go down to stats. Right, so here we go. We're going to see an accurate depiction of what we've got here. Okay. So first thing I'll start with is how we can get the turret to do more damage. So the turret to get it to do more damage is if we just tap the skill, we'll put it down, and it doesn't explode. You see that? It doesn't explode if we tap the skill. So if we don't want the explosion, we tap the skill. And we can see now we're hitting at 146. Pull out the pistol. Now we're hitting at 171, and also my Artificer Hive has pinged the turret. You saw a little ping come out of it. Okay. You see they're getting some extra damage from it. Again, what we can do is we can also use the Capacitor. Just get this fully stacked up again. Okay. So we're hitting for 195 now. What we'll do is we will get a quick kill. $234. 235 while we're in overcharge. So that's what we're aiming to do. Right. With the skills, you need to be careful because certain teammates might get upset if you use these. If you see a teammate, I'd probably avoid throwing the skill at them. Because what's going to happen is when we throw the skill, it's going to make an explosion. Now, remember I said that we were trying to create a block on an area that's blocked off. So if we imagine this is like a choke point or a bottleneck, maybe you describe it as such, we can throw one skill and then a second later throw the other one and have alternating explosions going off roughly every 2 seconds, which if enemies are sending those drones in, it's going to get rid of those drones. It's going to destroy them. Okay, and now we can see what happens. Bang. Roughly every 2 seconds, and that's hitting for 1.2 million. That's not hitting lightly, that's actually hitting for quite a lot. Okay, but what you want to do is just avoid throwing them near your teammates. Try not to put it right next to somebody that, I mean, if we do say this, and then you see a teammate that's looking down a scope, you're going to see that that is incredibly annoying when you're trying to snipe. So, probably best keeping your skills away from teammates. The only other pieces to really go through on this build is just that the grenades do shut off skills. And what I'd like to show off just before we go, I'm going to damage myself. And I'm going to show you that we do actually have just a little bit of sustain. Okay, see that our armor comes back. Let's get another kill. But as I said earlier, the explosions do not count towards your armor on kill, which is a shame really. I think it should. Let's see when this explosion goes off. Okay, one more. We should get health if this gets us, but... Okay, I was actually wrong. That definitely does. Okay, so I've proven myself wrong in the video, so I think it's probably a good time to end it there. But yeah, amazing. So this has some very, very good potential. You just have to use it in the right way. Alright guys, sorry about the lengthier video. If you want to see gameplay, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Appreciate it. See you in the next one.